where does the player appear? Fix 64. So let's just say that the player always appears at the origin, or we'll put it somewhere else just so we've got something to test for. So imagine you're respawning. So there's like a clone pod or something, and the steam comes out of the clone pod, and suddenly your player is there, or your player is animating as if they're climbing out of the pod. This is the action that will trigger that to happen. Okay, so your facing, we'll just set the facing to 0. Oh, we don't even need to specify the facing, we just need to specify, because it's new. When we look at the new function, it doesn't even specify the facing. Here it specifies, I'm just looking at this function signature here, child world ID. So we'll say that the player is in the space world, which is another way of saying that you're floating in space. Okay, so that's where the player is going to be. So that's our biped argument sorted, force info. So that's like which force you belong to. I think I had a constant for that too. If I go back to the test world, so I was going to open our test sector, here we are. It's going to open this over here. I know it's slightly annoying for you guys, but well, maybe I'll just put it here for now, and we'll see how that goes. Test force ID. Hello to the new people who have joined. There's now 33 people on the stream. That's nice. Action type. Sorry, it jumps to the wrong place and then I forget where I am. So I needed a force ID for this. Let me just minimize this. Or collapses as it's called. So the question is, this person who just appeared, which force are they in, which then describes, which ships belong to them and so on. Each player probably has their own force initially, but then you might have organizations which have their own force as well. Need a client ID number. I've been using 2 for my tests so far. Okay, so then we perform some ticks, so everyone should get this action and execute it. And then the question I want to ask, I've got a few questions to ask. One is there a biped in the world? So for the sector, we can get a space on the client, we can get space on the server. Let's start with the space on the client. We want to know if these different classes that I've created here, so which ones are most important to me to test at the moment? Let's say we want to know that there's a biped. Let's test for a biped and a biped inhabit. So read storage for the biped, read storage for the biped inhabit. We don't need to know about the entities, or do we? Yeah, we do need to know about the entities. So we give it a lowercase b. So what we have to do with specs is we have to actually get a number of components, and each one has its own storage. And so this call here is getting the storage for the components from this thing called system data. So you either read storage or write storage. We're only using read here, and then let me just call this biped details. We iterate through this to find all the relevant bipeds and so on. Biped's definitely going to be a biped. Inhabits, yes, we want one of those. So then these 3 things get references to the storage. You can then join on them and iterate. This is like a feature of specs. And for each one of those I'm cloning them and collecting them, so then I can do a quick check that I've got the right number of drivers, or bipeds now. And then we unpack it. So this is just me copying a previous test where we were having a ship drivers. So you see lots of stuff is in common. Biped, inhabit, entity equals biped details 1, and then so we can check that some values there are correct. So we probably want to check that we got the right creation of a biped and inhabit here with the player equaling this. But the thing I'm also interested in is this idea of the client list. So I had this client list here. This is something I kind of invented. I think I've mentioned it last stream, but I've fleshed it out between streams. I need to have a dictionary of what all the clients are controlling so that when we get input actions from them, we know what to move. Welcome to the stream, by the way, if you've just joined. We're making players able to control things. Let me just show you one more time. Sorry for the repetition if you've been watching from the start. So players can fly these little ships, and I want them to be able to use a strategy called a console to get in and get out of the ships. So that's what we're currently up to, is that input management using specs and Rust. And having described that, now I've kind of lost my train of thought, but that's not your fault. Okay, so we're going to get client list, let client list equal, we want the specs world, which we've got here in sector. So I've got this sector and I've got an idea of the space client. I want to know what they think of the space world. So we're going to fetch, and what are we fetching? Let's use a turbofish. So it's the greatest name, this little symbol, so quote, quote, colon, turbofish. Anyway, we're fetching the client list. And so that gets it from specs, and then we use, we're going to assert equal that when we ask client list for the client, we get a reasonable piece of data. Client list dot get client ID 2. What we should get is a client detail. This is on the right. Inhabit is going to be equal to an inhabits instance, which is going to be a player avatar at a certain location. So we currently inhabit a player avatar. And this avatar is, I have to go back to inhabits to see this. Split horizontally. Client list. Good. I can see both at the same time, and so can you. Sometimes I think that developing has reduced my working memory. I've got used to I spread out all my code over all my monitors, so I don't have to remember as much, and then I can just look around to see it. So am I still in the right place? Yes. Inhabits player avatar. What is the player avatar doing? It's got a world ID, and that world ID is the one that the space one. Okay, I thought it'd be a good idea to change my keyboard down to the lower position, but it didn't work, so I'll just put that back on again. That's what all the tapping is, you can hear. Just fiddling with my input devices here. Okay, world ID. Player avatars, that xlock. So the xlock should match what we told it up here. That's just a straight copy of that. And the ylock should also match. Now I'm using a formatting system where it will reformat my code as I go. And so I've kind of got in the habit of letting it do the job and not formatting too much. But until the syntax is correct, it doesn't do any formatting. So yeah, there's no facing. So that's there you go, there's the format. The client detail inhabits that. Puck is going to be sum, and it's going to point to the entity that we've got here. sum, and droid is none, and ship is none, like this. And I need a comma here. So that's what I expect to be in the client list. So that's really important later on when the player enters the ship. This is kind of all the setup that's required for the previous test, essentially, to make sense.